The following podcast is brought to you by Pro Wrestling Connect, Australia's newest choice for event management and brand development specializing in pro wrestling.
And now, the B Plus Wrestling Podcast. Watch global. Support local. It's the B Plus Wrestling Podcast.
The Moose.
B plus.
Check it out! Here we go! You wanna mess with us? Cause we're steady underground.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen out there in the B Plus land. It is me, it is I, the one they call Mr Myster1ous, and welcome to All the Rest, the wrestling podcast that keeps you up to date on all the wrestling news from this weird, wacky world that we call professional wrestling. I cover a little bit of MLW news, a little bit of AEW, some NWA when they lay dormant for a little while and they perk back up again because that's just what they do, and all the other WWE news and just the hot goss from the indie scene. I like to keep you guys up to date on as much as I can for as long as I can and keep it a nice little compact hour-long episode roughly that I call All the Rest. A little bit of housekeeping, guys. Birthday news. Where would we be about birthdays? At the time I'm recording, I should give a happy 61st birthday to The Beast, the UFC Triple Crown champion they call Dan Severn. Big congratulations to you, sir. You are still, your mustache is still majestic as ever. You got Liv Morgan, formerly of the Riot Squad, who turns 25 today. You have legendary WWE wrestler Tatanka, who turns 64. And on the 9th, at the time this should be released, which a happy 24th birthday to Tanara Conti. I believe she's an NXT wrestler. I try and keep up to date with NXT as much as I can, guys, but I leave that to our lovely super producer Greg and all my other broadcast guys to keep you up to date on all the other stuff here. So I like to focus on this little stuff that we do here. So, as I mentioned, I'm going to try and cover all the wrestling news, guys. I should mention I'm just a little bit sniffly. Winter is definitely here in Australia, but I will persevere for you all. And we do have a lot of really juicy stories to help get you through this week and keep you privy to what's been going on. So I'm starting with MLW episode 60, but really this is the MLW's pay-per-view match, Fury Road for 2019. This, I should just say straight up, show was great, short, sweet, to the point. I would have loved for it to go longer, but I say that a lot about a lot of Major League Wrestling shows. Few good matches, some good promos, a lot of building blocks for the future of MLW, which is what you want. My only gripe, and this is a biggie, the audio, the entrance audio. Oh no. Like, wrestling is supposed to be an immersive experience. It is, like, and I've seen this. Like, I work with wrestlers. I've seen this happen. When the audio messes up and the entrance music doesn't work, the energy just, it goes down. And it's just, bless, like some wrestlers, because they're professionals, they still go out there and they still perform to the best of their abilities. But man, like, and I've seen the chat for this. So apparently it was on live, like at the venue that this was held at, but it was like really low. So if you could, if you really listen, you could kind of hear it on the stream and everything else. But man, that was just like, this is Impact quality. Like, I don't mean, I shouldn't say that. That's mean of me. But this is like Impact United We Stand levels of audio bad. And I did not expect this from MLW because they've been doing so well. They've been doing so well. And this kind of took me out of it. I seriously, I need to rewatch Fury Road, but I need to have the wrestlers' entrance musics on the separate tabs so I can play them at the same time, so I can still enjoy this properly. Like, I still manage to enjoy myself, but it just takes you out of it when you don't not hear the entrance musics of some of your favorite wrestlers. I'm sure you guys will agree, but if you ever look up Fury Road, you might want to consider, separate tabs for the wrestlers' entrance music. Match 1 was Gringo Loco go up against Myron Reed. This shouldn't be too much surprise to anyone. Reed is still being the detestable heel. It's still being they're calling him the keyboard warrior. Like, he's got Justice on his, Justice taped over his mouth and everything else. But yeah, this is a proper Lucha Libre action type match. Great kickoff to Fury Road. Gringo Loco, lovely arsenal. Like, he may be an enhancement talent, but man, he is just so good at like the aerial stuff, the grappling offense, wearing down opponents. You know, it's just he has a lot going for him. And like, he wore down Reed to pick up the win. He did a spinning variation of a tombstone pile driver. I loved it. It was so cool. Yeah, high flying, fast paced, great match to open the show with, especially with, like, you could hear the crowd more, like, you could more so than the other audio. Really sparked up a lot of things going on. After the match, Myron Reed, he pulled out a set of brass knuckles out of his pants. So the referee was been checking him, his boots and everything else. Now he's going to check everything else properly next time. So he pulled out a set of brass knuckles that had justice on them. Like, I don't know if it was hashtag justice or just justice, but he clocked Gringo Loco in the jaw, like a mean right hook. Could this be the last we see of these two in the ring together? I don't think so. I feel like to make this a referee story, MLW's out to get me, make sense, it has to flip at some point where he's going to have to start getting some victories. At the moment, it's just like, I'm cheating and but I'm doing it because everyone has an agenda or some weird thing like that. Like, referee stories, authority stories, the one-sided authority stories, they're just a bit out of place, and I'm hoping that this works all right. I'm not angry about it. It's just, it's starting to irritate. But like, through the force of the wrestler's charisma, like with Myron Reed, I'm going along with it, so I'm not hating it. We have a promo with Selena, who cuts very informative about the direction of MLW moving forward, because she has spoken to Court Bauer, who has allowed her to run a show later this month, June 15th. So next week, she will be the executive producer one more time for MLW, considering how MLW's last episode that she was executive producer on was their highest rated episode ever, where she was pretty much everywhere. And she kind of says it now, just like, who doesn't love a woman on top? And yeah, Selena, yeah, I mean, gorgeous. What more can I say? She's a gorgeous woman. Like, aside from Casey Lennox, she's like the only woman on the roster. Like, MLW don't have a women's division, so you can tell that the MLW audience, the fan base, just love a bit of Selena. They love a bit of Promociones. Understandable. She's a fantastic manager. Can't wait for that. I can't wait to see how, like, bombastic and just like in your face she's going to be this time with all her matches. If she's going to have Promociones on all the shows, I don't know. I'm hoping that I want to see a nice LA Park low-key match or something if they're going to turn low-key away from Promociones down the line. We'll see what happens very soon. We had, after Selena, Casey standing outside a doorway saying that Tom Lawler is missing. She will keep everyone updated as the story unfolds. She's really seemed concerned, guys. You cannot tell from the smile and the grimaces of Casey Lennox. I mean, God. I'm sorry, Casey. I don't mean to be mean. Match 2. We had Alexander Hammerstone against Brian Pillman Jr. for the finals of the MLW National Openweight Championship. Right off the bat, like, I've made it very clear, if you've been listening for the past few weeks, who I thought would win, and I was right. Your inaugural Openweight Champion of the Dynasty, Alexander Hammerstone. You could tell, like, the crowd was fully behind Pillman, right? There was no question, and he still had his, like, you could tell this is recent because he now has his double or nothing hair, which looks majestic. Brian Pillman, oh, that's a luscious mane, I would say right now. But yeah, Hammerstone made his entrance flanked by Holiday and MJF to a raucous of boos, but he made that, like, the other Dynasty members are like, you got this. They don't need, he doesn't need them. That should show you how much faith MLW has in Alexander Hammerstone, right? like as Holiday and MJF were making the exits, MJF drew more heat on commentary, saying that if Brian Pillman Sr. were alive today, he would vomit at the sight of his own son. Just MJF is the biggest heel in professional wrestling. He is the highest rising star in professional wrestling. He knows he's good at just. People need to take lessons from MJF in terms of how to really rile people up, because that was just mean. He's great. So after those sickening words, we had the match start, and you could tell this is going to be a lot of opposing styles. So Pillman started out strong and fast, trying to put away the much larger Hammerstone. We've seen this match before, so there were some elements that were a little bit similar, but all the momentum was stopped by Hammerstone doing a bicycle kick. This seemed to be the theme throughout the match. So every time Pillman would gain the upper hand, Hammerstone would just full on stop him dead in his tracks. Right? In the end, Hammerstone just pretty much overpowered Pillman. So last time it was like Hammerstone was shit scared of Pillman, and then they had the 3-on-1 backup. And now he's like, no, I'm confident in my abilities now. And Hammerstone just through his own power proved to be too much. Nightmare Pendulum, 1, 2, 3, your new openweight champion, right? And I couldn't be happier. I was worried, as much as I would have loved the Hart Foundation having, 2 Hart Foundation members having double championships, and, then you have Davey Boy to defeat Lawler to have them have all the gold. That would have been, a weird... I feel like some faction is going to do that at some point in some promotion, if they haven't already. Each of them are tag team champions with the Freebird rule, and then each of the individual stars are singles champions. I don't know. I feel like that's going to happen at some point somewhere. Didn't happen yet. I'm glad. Happy for Hammerstone. And we soon after this, we have a terrorist promo. I don't know how to exactly describe this. So Contra it's revealed that we mentioned Tom Lawler is missing, and it turns out that Contra have kidnapped him, right? So he's tied to a chair, and Contra is sending a message. They're beating, he's tied to a chair, he's gagged, he's taped up, right? And they say they can do whatever they want. They start punching him in the gut some more, and bless Samael, he is trying to seem sinister. He is, for the most part, but he's saying we can take whatever we want. So they took Tom Lawler's hair. They took a chunk of his hair, right? And commentary are trying to make this seem like, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, for the horrendous display that you saw before you. If your kid's turned off, I don't know what we can say. This was a heinous assault. He just cut off a piece of his hair. It wasn't anything this isn't Muhammad Hassan terrorist levels of WWE that was so bad that it completely derailed his WWE career. That's a really niche throwback for some people, but it was just that. It was very silly. It seemed very childish. It didn't have Contra badasses. It just seemed so silly, right? And you had a last episode where you're trying to really push Contra as being these juggernaut guys, and they're all over the place, and maybe and how's Lawler escaping then? They're just going to allow him to escape so he can have his match with the Von Erichs against them next time. I mean, if you're going to commit to having Tom Lawler kidnapped and you're going to cut a piece of his hair, shave his entire head, make a statement that way, give him a proper bold look, something demeaning, right? That would have been great. But just a chunk of hair, really? I don't know. That's just me. Seemed pretty silly. But main event time, Teddy Hart against Jimmy Havoc for the MLW Middleweight Championship. Oh, this was good. Brutality, storytelling, technique, hardcore violence, championship gold on the line. This is what wrestling is all about, right? I will say, as mentioned with the audio, Jimmy Havoc kind of got you could hear the bass of his audio coming out for his entrance music of all of them. Bless him. So he's the only one who actually gets a legitimate kind of entrance with the audio quality. Within the first few minutes, Teddy is hitting his springboard corkscrew senton go for the pin early. Havoc wouldn't have it. Havoc is pretty much a human pinball. Like, he's taking bumps all over the ring, right? He's getting the upper hand by dropping Hart with a chair-coated ring apron, right? And I think Hart was the first one to draw blood in this one, right? And yeah, we get Havoc getting into the groove and just more chair shots and being disgusting. I was surprised Teddy Hart was okay with this. I mean, he's not known for being a hardcore wrestler, and he's Teddy freaking Hart. He's awesome. But I was really surprised, like, how committed, like, how well will Teddy Hart do in a hardcore setting. But you know what? He's a friggin' beast. He's amazing. Teddy Hart is one of my favorite wrestlers in all the professional wrestling, and I will say that wholeheartedly to anybody because he is just amazing, right? So we had some paper cut spots to the mouth, finger webbing, like that just makes you cringe. Back-to-back suplexes on steel barricades. This match was insane, right? Teddy went for a head scissors off the top rope and reversed into a sharpshooter by Havoc. Like, it seems like low-hanging fruit, but to do a sharpshooter on a member of the Hart family, it still gets a big reaction from the crowd because they know how blatant and just like how, oh, you went there, this is every time. Like, it's never going to get old every time someone does that. So yeah, Teddy Hart kicked into another high gear. The Destroyers came out, and pretty much my favorite spot to finish the match, his hammerlock DDT onto a steel chair. 1, 2, 3. Teddy Hart is still the middleweight champion from beginning to end, right? It was awesome. And afterwards, Dynasty came out to try and beat up Teddy. Then the other members of the Hart Foundation came out to even the odds. Dynasty, Hart Foundation, both teams have gold. The heat is still on. Keep it going. Keep it going. Now that we've had this, the Hart Foundation need to lose the tag belts to Dynasty. You give MJF gold, right? You can't, we don't know what's going to happen with All Elite Wrestling when the TV deals start up again, right? You need to give him that moment, right? And then we can slowly start moving the tag belts around the MLW roster again. Because we haven't had it for a while, and it's being a bit quiet, and I want to see more tag team wrestling in MLW. Please, MLW, please, we'll see what happens here. So they mentioned that MJF and Davey Boy Smith are going to be facing off next week, so clearly they're going to build up to this even more, right? But overall, loved this episode of MLW. Just please, for the love of God, fix the audio. I'll cover a bit of All Elite Wrestling news. I didn't really talk about it last week because we had a big 2-hour long, it felt like, podcast about Double or Nothing and the emancipation of Jon Moxley. Have a listen to that, where Greg Unchained and myself have a big chat about All Elite Wrestling. That's why I didn't cover much AEW news in last week's All the Rest. So we're back to normal. We have episode 155 of Being the Elite. This episode is live, and this was one of the most laugh out loud moments I had with Being the Elite this week, where the Young Bucks are just putting their hands in together. And it took me a second to click what was happening. The camera turns, Jon Moxley is there, they're trying to do the Shield thing. And Jon Moxley just like, you prick, he just walks off. And just like, that was brilliant. Simple, and we talked about this last week. Jon Moxley did about 3 different promos after his big attack on Kenny Omega. 3 promos, and he talked about how the creative process, that would have taken him hours in WWE, but it only took him 10 minutes to do, which I love it. And then, if you're wondering like why the Young Bucks being so chummy with Jon Moxley, apparently they didn't realize that he attacked Kenny Omega after the show. So after Chris Jericho and they saw him attack Chris Jericho and the referee, they didn't see him attack Kenny Omega. And then Matt's wife actually said, like, that's what happened, right? And like, we should probably cut out that intro. Like, no, it's live, man. And then just like, you had this really still moment of the Young Bucks going, well, shit. And they're just like, I'm gonna go now. It was fun. It was fun, guys. We had the librarians and what I can only describe as foreplay. Like, they're just like, they're mirroring each other. You have the CEO of the gaming, like, you had the Fighter Fest match. They're building up to that with Michael Nakazawa. So his opponent, I feel like Jabali, I apologize. Yeah, he's getting into it in like dribs and drabs. You have Luchasaurus is teaching Jungle Boy the history of the world, right? He's teaching him about world history, and he puts on, if this is going to be a skit moving forward, I love this. He's just like, he's talking about wrestling history instead of like US history. Like, trust me, I have a master's degree. And he puts his glasses on. Luchasaurus, you are 65 million years old, and you now have a master's degree. Congratulations to you, sir. Dinosaurs can evolve over time. Awesome. We had a couple of fan questions. Apparently, Matt Jackson was responsible for the name SCU. You had a couple of stuff here. MJF was beating down, but he was teasing the crap out of Joey Ryan. He was saying all the shit about him. Joey Ryan's just like, man, I take all this crap and I don't even work here. And it cuts to his promo at Bar Wrestling where he said that indie wrestling is the blonde girl I've been looking for all this time, as we mentioned last week. Good for him. But the weird thing is, from this weird interaction with MJF and Joey Ryan, I half expected. So he's got two little dumbbells he's holding, like he's trying to lift weights with. And the way the camera shot, for the life of me, it looked like he was going to be trying to lift weights with his dong. Like, it might have been just me, but it looked like the camera was going to slowly pan and he was doing like dong weights. Something like that. There was a weird, I don't know, something fell off with that promo, but it led to the Bar Wrestling footage with him saying that, you know what, indie wrestling is where my heart's at. And who knows, maybe we'll see him at All Elite down the line. It's good that he doesn't appear in there right away, so that when he finally does, if he does, it'll be very impactful. So, you know what, let's see what happens there. SCU they end the episode with Christopher Daniels talking to Shima. Apparently he wants one more match against Christopher Daniels. That's going to be awesome. I don't know if that will be at Fighter Fest or Fight for the Fallen. I don't think it'll be an All Out. Well, maybe we'll see. They will have a lot easier time. The OWE guys will have a lot easier time having Seema and the Strong Hearts go around the world with their visa issues, which I will touch on later on in the episode. But yeah, that was the announcement there. And we have a Road to Fighter Fest now. No more Road to Double or Nothing because it's been now, guys. And this one is very short, 6-minute footage of Cody saying this is Kenny's baby. And you have a promo, John Moxley, like just talking shit about Joey Janela. Very good promo, saying like, I don't care about the health, the safety of the wrestler. Like, choose your words wisely if you want to make an enemy of me. Solid stuff. Like, and if this follows the same pattern as Road to Double or Nothing, where before that show starts, we have a nice thank you message. And just, I'd love that. I would love to see that. Even if Being the Elite stops happening, I want to see more of these Road to whatever AEW pay-per-view going forward. That would be fantastic. No NWA news to speak of this week. They're a bit dormant for now, but we'll see what happens in the coming weeks. Before I get into all the signings and all the wacky, weird news that I have collected from this past week, let's hear from Greg with our sponsors.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey guys, just a reminder, if you want to hear all of these wonderful B Plus podcast episodes completely ad-free, make sure you head over to Patreon or Podbean, where we are the featured podcast this week. You can subscribe for as little as $1 a month up to $10 a month, where anything you want to help us with, it really helps out. It's going to help us grow the site. It's going to help us redesign some things, and everything that we get through this and through the advertising as well is all going straight back into the podcast so that we can get Aussie Graps out there for the rest of the world to hear about, for the rest of the world to see, so we can grow this mission of watch, global, support local, and build indie wrestling. So if you want to be a part of that and get some really cool rewards like call-in shows, bonus episodes, ad-free like I mentioned, then head over to patreon.com/theb+ and subscribe today. Hey everyone, just want to take a second to tell you about one of our new sponsors, Outbreak Nutrition. Outbreak Nutrition are creating supplements for survival, sharper minds, quicker reflexes, all the energy you need to take your performance to the next level, whether that be on the field, in the gym, on the gaming field. That's right, they have specifically designed gaming supplements as well to help you focus on those late night sessions. They even sell coffee, you guys, at Outbreak Nutrition. You can get coffee pods, you can get coffee beans, you can get supplements for the bedroom as well if you want to enhance your performance there. These are performance enhancing supplements for every aspect of your life, specifically designed by gamers, for gamers, to stay fit and healthy in the gym, to stay sharp and focused on the game, and to dominate in all areas of life. So check out OUTBREAKNUTRITION.com, and for being a listener of our podcast, they will give you 10% off your order when you enter the code B+. That is BPLUS at checkout. So make sure, if you want to stay on top of your game, if you want to take your performance to the next level, OUTBREAKNUTRITION.com, enter the code B+ at checkout.
And we are back, guys, kicking things off with all the signings, the injuries, who's leaving, who wants to leave, who's trying to stay, who wants to stay in this day and age, who's being forced to stay. All these questions and more will be revealed right now. So the latest signings from around the world. This is an Impact spoiler that has been spoiled to me, but it's been revealed on like all the other news sites, so I don't feel wrong to tell you guys. TJ Perkins has returned to Impact Wrestling at their latest tapings. So he faced off against Ace Austin. I won't report the result of the match. I'll leave that to when that match actually happens on Impact Wrestling. But former Cruiserweight champion, he was a former X Division champion. He was a part of Impact Wrestling about 5 years ago, I'm going to say. And yeah, very, very happy to see him back. Like, with the revolving door of Impact talent, it's good to hear that some wrestlers are staying and all returning at least. And do you know who else is staying in Impact? Killer Cross. Oh, thank God. I can breathe a sigh of relief because I was so worried, guys. He is the best thing in Impact Wrestling. And in an interview with Multimedia Mouth during StarCast, he addressed the rumors. He's saying he chose not to speak about it because they were inaccurate and they made him pretty effing angry, that the articles that surfaced about him. So he's clearing it up. He's saying that he's been very happy with Impact Wrestling overall, saying he's proud of their progress during this time. He's been given a lot of freedom that he probably wouldn't have gotten anywhere else. WWE. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. My cough is really bad today. And so that there's a level of gratitude that can't be repaid. He does say that his end game is to be financially secure enough to take care of his family, but at the moment it looks like he's here to stay at Impact. And it doesn't mean that he can't find work elsewhere, because for those of you guys who have seen, he released a video on his YouTube channel, a new video. It's Killer Time. And he's after a certain gentleman who is a lunatic, who's escaped from a prison, who's talking about paradigm shifts, and someone who is carving hourglass symbols into places, and he's using hourglass symbols, right? It's Jon Moxley. He is going to face off against Jon Moxley somewhere. We don't know where. If this is for Impact Wrestling or All Elite or AAA, I couldn't care less. This is going to be one of the best matches of 2019. I never knew I wanted this so bad. Killer Cross versus the Death Rider, Jon Moxley. For those of you who have seen the Best of the Super Juniors recently, Jon Moxley made his successful debut against Juice Robinson and is the new IWGP United States champion. I should have mentioned last week with all the signings and stuff. Yeah, there's this guy named Jon Moxley who is All Elite. I left it for the AEW podcast that Greg and I did. But yeah, I cannot wait. Like, if it's hell, it could be for New Japan. It could be Killer Cross and Jon Moxley for the United States title. How impressive would that be? That would be amazing. The mind boggles, ladies and gentlemen. The mind boggles. I would love to see Killer Cross in AEW. I would love to see Moxley appear in Impact just as an FU to WWE. There are so many possibilities to take with this. So all in all, very excited to see that Killer Cross is staying with Impact for the foreseeable future. We have some, not signings, but some rumored call-ups from NXT. So TakeOver 25 happened this past week. And we saw a new NXT champion crowned, a second Grand Slam champion from the Undisputed Era, Adam Cole, baby. Shock the system. He is the new NXT champion. And Shayna Baszler retained her women's championship against Io Shirai. It looks like they might be getting called up in the future. So this isn't confirmed yet, but it seems like WWE are really really eager to have those two, which is very weird timing. So especially after the Viking Raiders, I forget what they're called now. I feel like it's the Viking Raiders. But after they got called up to the tag team roster, and now they've disappeared from WWE programming. Like, where have they gone? For God's sakes. I don't want this to happen, right? If this is true, I am very worried. If it was ever going to be 2 stars, with WWE's track record with call-ups, I feel like these two could, through their own force of will, keep themselves on WWE programming, could keep themselves on TV, right? Adam Cole is so charismatic, but I don't think it's the right time for him to get called up. Like, I shouldn't say call up, just to be moved across. Because at this point, NXT is not the smaller show. NXT is its own brand, and people are lucky if they stay in NXT and they get to be a part of the best show of all 3, of all 4, 5. Yeah, I'll say 5. I like to think NXT UK is like same thing, but a lot of people probably disagree with me. But yeah, I don't think it's right time for Adam Cole, especially since we have more stuff with Undisputed Era, unless they bring the entire Undisputed Era up with him. Would not make sense. Shayna Baszler, though, I'd be okay with it. I would be okay with it because she's defeated pretty much everybody in NXT. She's probably going to have like a no DQ match against Io Shirai, like a rematch. But after that, if she sticks around in NXT, I mean, who else is there for her to face? And she could be this great threat to Becky Lynch down the line, just slowly, like, lingering in the shadows, and then just all of a sudden, new champion, new women's champion, the man versus Shayna Baszler. I would love that so much. But there's so many call-ups, there's so many talent that is being underutilized in WWE that I don't want this to happen, really. So that's just what the rumors are at the moment. Obviously, these guys have the it factor that WWE will look for in the NXT stars. But, man, keep them in NXT because they just got to be used better. They've got to be used better. We have a couple injuries, guys. Taiji Ishimori got kicked out of the Best of Super Juniors tournament with a shoulder injury. Of course, that was won by Will Ospreay. It's the second time he's won it in the past couple years. Big congratulations to him. But yeah, he got sidelined for that for a little while. We had an update on Tommaso Ciampa at TakeOver. He got cleared for non-contact activity, which pretty much doesn't mean anything, but it means that he's in good health and that he's on the mend, which is fantastic. But yeah, non-contact clearance means that he could probably be like a manager down the line, and then when he's feeling better, maybe take a bump somewhere. But yeah, in WWE land, that does not mean shit. So at the very least, he seemed happy. He was talking about Goldie on the pre-show for TakeOver. Like, it was really funny. You should check it out. One guy I didn't talk about last week because I wasn't sure what the circumstances were. Rey Mysterio is out of action with a shoulder injury. The reason I didn't talk about it because I didn't know if it was like part of a storyline or something else. and he didn't vacate the US title. He just gave it back to Samoa Joe. Very weird decision. Very weird decision. I'm saying it right now. Like, you vacate the title. Other stars compete to earn the right to become the champion. You don't just give the former champion the belt back. Like, very divisive. I don't agree with that decision. Nevertheless, Rey Mysterio is out of action for the time being with a shoulder injury. Hopefully we see him pop up very soon. He still needs to have a couple of dream matches, like with AJ Styles in my mind and a couple other guys. It's Rey Mysterio. We just love to see him back at some point. Also, the Monday Night MILF, as she's trying to get over in her socials, Mickie James, she's going to be out of action indefinitely with an ACL injury. This sucks, man, because she's only been on WWE TV twice this year. We are like halfway through the year, and she's only had been on TV twice, right? This is so stupid. So the last time was the Women's Battle Royal at WrestleMania, where that didn't really do anything. But she got moved to SmackDown. We haven't seen her since. This was a house show match against Carmella in Texas that had to be cut short because she'd been injured, but we didn't know at the time how bad it was. But yeah, it's at the moment she has to recover from her injury at the moment indefinitely, which is bad timing. And she's still she's still going good. As in terms of a veteran women's wrestler, she was still going well. They just never utilized her. It's very unfortunate. My heart goes out to Mickie James, and hopefully everyone else on the shelf recovers very soon, because we want to see more people get back into TV on WWE programming, and just in general, really. In terms of people leaving, this one we've known for a while, but Eli Drake has actually took to his social media and said officially this week he is now a free agent. He talked about the 4 years of Impact have been great, some highs, some lows. He got to be a champion there. He was part of a stable with Drew Galloway, McIntyre, whatever you want to call him, with the Rising, right? He was the GFW Global Champion when that was around, right? Very weird circumstances that led to him being kicked out of Impact, if that was, or he agreed to leave. We still don't really know what happened there, but nevertheless, he's left Impact officially. Best of luck to him on all his future endeavors. We have some news from around the world, guys. Get ready, because Glow Season 3 has been announced on Netflix to be coming out August 9th. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, the gorgeous ladies of wrestling are back. Very much looking forward to this. Zoya the Destroyer, Liberty Bell, the Welfare Queen. I love Glow. I think it's amazing. And there's been some photos that have come out teasing they're in Las Vegas now. I think, I'm trying to remember properly. I need another binge, guys. We need to organize a nice binge session, maybe a whole joint thing to watch Glow one sitting. I don't, that's just me. We should organize that. And a lot of people are raising a lot of money. It's charity week. This is something I never thought I would say in all the rest. It seems to be the week to raise money for different charities and causes, and I'm not complaining. I think it's amazing. So first off, we have Holy Foley. So in support of Ashley Massaro's daughter to help pay for her college tuition, there's a fundraiser being made. Of course, Ashley Massaro unfortunately took her own life a couple weeks ago. So our sincerest condolences to her family. And Mick Foley is one of the spearheads of the fundraiser, where if you donate over $5,000, he will personally go to your house and have a dinner with you. Right? That's just beautiful. And it was his birthday a couple days ago. Happy birthday to you, Mick Foley. I hope you had a nice day. But yeah, he of course the Squared City Sirens, I think they were called. They were the ones who were promoting as well. But yeah, he appeared on TMZ to say that, yeah, Ashley was a good friend, a great person, and we need to do whatever we can. And if people are going to be generous that much with their donations, the least he can do, doesn't matter wherever in the world you are, he will appear at your house. Like, that's a surefire way to meet Mick Foley. So that seems like it's going to be a very great thing. Hopefully they raise, I feel like they've raised about $25,000 so far. Now they brought in $25,000 in one day. At the moment I'm recording, they were about $45,000 in. So, like, Jesus, that's just incredible. We'll see what happens in the next few weeks. Other people raising money for good causes. Rey Mysterio, as we mentioned, since he's out of action, what else is he going to do? He's going to raise money for autism awareness. So good to hear. He started a new campaign last week, Fight for Autism. He is the global ambassador for the project, and he seeks to bring awareness to the increasing incidence of autism globally and raise funds for foundations working with children with autism. So he did a few quotes for that, guys. The link is on our page for those of you who want to donate any amount possible. I think the minimum they're hoping for is $4 US, which is probably about $7 in Australia, roughly $6-7. The proceeds from the fundraisers go to various foundations that work with children with autism in the United States, Mexico, the UK, a lot of the countries. I didn't check if there was any in Australia, but any amount donating to that cause, probably very worthy and worth your time. And Rey Mysterio is sweetening the pot because he's saying that every time a fan makes a donation, they get a digital photo of Rey, personal message from him, get a chance to win some special prizes, including some bespoke masks, some miniature belt bands, personally inscribed championship titles, and the grand prize is a trip is called the Booyaka Bundle, and all expenses paid experience for two, including business class airfares, hotel accommodation, and premium seat tickets to a live WWE show as Rey Mysterio's personal guests. That is just incredible. I wholeheartedly approve of this initiative, and you guys should as well. Like, for as little as $4 American, you could win a trip of a lifetime. And if you don't, you've helped raise money for an amazing cause. Like I said, guys, on our page, the link is there. Donate some of your time. And someone else, the third person who is donating their services to charities, especially since they're not doing anything right now, Sami Zayn. So, since he was not allowed to be a part of Super Showdown because of his ethnicity, which we'll touch on Super Showdown briefly in a little bit, but yeah, he's putting all his efforts into a proper cause, being a part of a campaign to benefit medical relief efforts in Syria. He's been working with the American Medical Society. I believe he did the same thing last year as well, but he's launching a new mobile clinic that kicked off the same time as Super Showdown's main show. So at the time of recording, it's still going on, and it should hopefully be up for the next couple days. So he announced it on Twitter earlier this week, right? Intensified attacks in northwest Syria are targeting civilians and medical facilities. So he'll once again be partnering with the American Medical Society to launch a new mobile clinic to aid those in desperate need. Yeah. Bless Sami Zayn, especially with everything that's happened with Super Showdown, because as much I didn't watch it, I know what's happened. I've looked up the results and everything else. We are not going to review it. I feel like if anyone's going to, it'd probably be CJ, our lonely WWE fan. I think he's going to try and do a big recap of this past Raw SmackDown and then cram in some Super Showdown news. Bless him. None of us want to take that bullet at this point. And this is like kind of proof positive, because one of the things that would have enticed me maybe to have given this show proper thought was the fact that it looked like there was going to be a women's match on the card. It seemed like, anyway. So you had Alexa Bliss and Natalya. They flew all the way to Saudi Arabia, and it looked like that the Saudi Arabian Sports Authority, it looked like they were going to clear, for the first time in their history, a women's match. Now, I think Sasha Banks had a match in Abu Dhabi where the women had a specific ring gear to cover themselves so that they could actually have the match, which that would have been fine. I feel like that's what would have happened. But yeah, WWE, they were going to have this groundbreaking thing. They're going to work to cause progress in Saudi Arabia to slowly get them to initiate change in the region, right? And apparently the government had indicated to WWE they could have their first women's match on the show, and then they didn't. This is bad. This is a very, very bad PR week for WWE. The fact that we know that it could have happened and now it hasn't happened, it shows that this progressive deal, quote unquote, isn't that progressive, and that Saudi Arabia are just holding on, clinging to their beliefs and their roots that there shouldn't be any women's wrestling at all on the show. And yes, they've loosened their grip and allowing Renee Young to appear as an announcer, fully covered and everything else. But that, and I feel like WWE tried to release it on their social medias to kind of convince them by force to change, and now it's just blown up in their face, as has a lot of things this week for WWE. It's just a very, very bad time to be in the land of World Wrestling Entertainment. But I will talk about that in a second. Let's cover some name changes in NXT. Boy, WWE have really cracked down on the name changes. So they like to make their own stars. So if you've been known in an independent scene as a certain name, they will change it to something more enticing for their audience, maybe. That's what the WWE thinking is anyway. So we've had 7 name changes this week. 7. I will go through them all as best I can. So you have former Impact Wrestling star Trevor Lee is now known as Cameron Grimes. Adrian Jaude is now known as Arturo Ruiz. You have Jesse Elabard is now known as Jesse Kamea or Kamea. You have Luke Menzies is now Ridge Holland. Probably the big one here, Eric Bugenhagen is now Rick Bugs. Which, as an Australian, we shorten the crap out of everything. Everyone was probably going to call him Bugs anyway, so of all of them, I don't mind Rick Bugs. That's fine. We have a couple other ones announced today at the time of recording. So, DJZ, former Impact wrestler, X Division champion, is now known as Joaquin Wilde, which, that's alright. But this one, of all the names, I'm not happy about this. So, Swerve Shane Strickland, right? He's wrestled for NXT under his name before, is now called Isaiah Scott. Why? There was no point to change his name, all of them. And as been pointed out to me, a rose by any other name should smell just as sweet. But some of these names, there was no need to change them. I'm sorry, I am stuck in my ways a lot of ways with independent wrestlers. I don't mind some of these name changes. I'm hoping that they work well moving forward. But man, Isaiah Scott, really? I might get one over, and he might still be called Swerve. I don't know. Strickland still has his podcast, Swerve City, I think it is. As long as he keeps Swerve, I might be happy with it. Swerve Isaiah Scott. It'll grow on me. We'll see what happens there, guys, but let us know what you think of all the NXT name changes. Personally, I don't think they need to change their name, but it's just so WWE, they want to control everything about these NXT stars, especially the time that they are with the company, because with this bad PR, with WWE being called a lot of very bad names at the moment, like Prison, which I'll touch on later, but how do you think WWE would react to this? They would try and fix their creative problems. They would listen to the superstars, give them more control, try and make them happier. Nope, you buckle down and you tie your new stars to longer contracts. Oh god. So reports have been coming out that the usual deals for NXT stars, developmental talent, is about 3 years. But apparently, WWE are now extending that to 5 years to not only lock down these stars, but to make sure they don't test the waters in the independent scene. That is like 3 years is fair enough, but 5 years, that's a significant chunk of a wrestler's career, especially when they're first starting out. That's like their golden years. Like, that's a very bad decision. And with the stuff now, like, you had after the emancipation of Jon Moxley, which we really dissected, and there's been more interviews since. Like, Moxley's been on Wade Keller, he's been on a couple other interviews as well, where he's talked about Vince McMahon more, about Brock Lesnar, and apparently, like, according to the Wrestling Observer newsletter and everywhere else, no one has gone to deny what he has said. And not even people who apparently speak bad of Jon Moxley are not denying what he said. They've said he's hit the nail on the head in that, yeah, this is how the creative problem is. This is the creative issue backstage in WWE. Like, talent aren't being utilized. They have to abide by all these scripts. They don't make sense. Like, they can't change things. Why would WWE just buckle down on the contracts in a blatant move to just keep people on the roster, which they have no plans for? That's just a terrible decision. It just seems like someone in WWE, like even the Wrestling Observer claims that even Vince McMahon realizes this. So even Vince McMahon realizes that his system is broken. According to Dave Meltzer anyways, like so take it with a grain of salt. But he's saying that even Vince McMahon is aware that his system is broken. And they're not going to fix it anytime soon. Like, they should. They need to acknowledge all this. Like, but you had Dustin Rhodes. So after Double or Nothing, he actually said getting out of his contract with WWE, it was one of the hardest things to do, and they weren't going to use him for anything. And they kept telling him his matches were not good enough for the main stage. And when he put on like the best match of Double or Nothing, easily 5 stars, which it was, according to Dave Meltzer, that's proof positive that the system in there is full of shit. And he called WWE a prison, like a prison that they could take good care of you in, like they pay you well, but they don't use you for anything. You're just there. They offered him to be a part of the background for one of Goldberg's entrances. Like, that's nice, I suppose. That doesn't really do anything for anybody. And this seems like a very stupid time to be a WWE wrestler, to be involved in World Wrestling Entertainment, and something had to change. Like, there needs to be some announcement in the next couple weeks at least to show that there is going to be some active change in the way WWE are handling things, especially with this contract deal. Like, you're going to find a significant drop in call-ups to NXT if they're going to change the number of years from 3 years to 5, especially for guys like Kushida. He's probably got in before these changes, but he's in his late 30s. That's a big portion of his career, and like, he could leave by the time he's 40, like before he's 40 or after he's 40. That's a big difference in a wrestler's career. It just seems weird to me, guys, and we're not done bad-mouthing WWE. I don't mean to bad-mouth WWE, guys, but the reports just keep clamoring in. So we have the big guy, Ryback, the guy who is completely comfortable with what you think of him on social media, who does not care if you view him in a romantic fashion, because he is piped up on his new podcast, Conversations with the Big Guy. I love this so much, especially since his first guest was the president of Wrestling Inc., which you think that the president of Wrestling Inc. would be interviewing Ryback. Other way around. Very funny. But he has revealed that the WWE how the WWE network changed their pay-per-view pays and how much they get from merch sales, right? They held a meeting like when this is now granted, this is when Ryback was a part of the company. Things could have changed by then. So this information is still about 3 years old, 4 years old, but it should give you some context here. So he got told that the payouts were going to be based off previous year's pay-per-views when the network kicked in. The numbers were not made available to talent. They were not given any numbers for references, so they had no idea what the network was doing. And it's something that he apparently brought up with WWE constantly. His first WrestleMania payout was against Mark Henry, where he got paid about $70,000, $74,000, which apparently was his highest payday. Very significant payday, right? The next year, though, he was in a tag team match with Curtis Axel, and he made $35,000, and this is when the network kicked in. His lowest pay-per-view of any year, and he was never told why. And apparently, for every $30 that WWE make with a shirt sale, that wrestler's merchandise, the wrestler only gets about $1 or less. That is low. That is really, really low. And apparently, like, they tell people you can negotiate, but he's saying that if you try to negotiate, you're not going to get anything. And like people just go along with it because it's WWE and everyone else is just going along with it. So this leads to a very unhealthy work environment. What are you doing, WWE? What are you doing? It's like, again, what more can I say? It is a bad, bad time to be a wrestler in WWE, to be a creative person in WWE, just in general. So if people are dead set to make WWE part of their career choices, the news from the past few months, especially the past couple of weeks, might make you want to reconsider that. We have a couple other news stories, guys, so we're going to move away from WWE now. We're going to talk about Ring of Honor and Bully Ray, this little fan incident thing. So what's happened is a fan at Ring of Honor show apparently said that Bully Ray intimidated him after he was like being a dick in the crowd. He was making fun of Mandy Leone and Velvet Sky, which is Bully Ray's partner. I should preface that. So apparently the fan's name was Josh Ketch. So he said that Leon like face palmed him, spat at him. Velvet Sky sprayed perfume in his mouth, and Ketch was, according to fans, just using so much foul language and obscenity that he actually got kicked out. He actually got called out about it. So once Velvet Sky, I think she called him a virgin, he actually he said some stuff about Bully Ray. He called her partner, Bully Ray, a fat turd, right? And Ring of Honor, the general manager, has actually said this fan first approach. Like, they always take fan first approach with fan experiences at the forefront of all their live events, and they think this is a very serious matter that they're going to review. But Bully Ray has commented on this, and he's saying that he could not have been nicer to the fans. So he's saying in retrospect he should have been kicked out, but they actually took him backstage. He had a chat to him and said, "Go be a fan," patted him on the back and everything else. And he didn't realize just how loud this fan had got. I should use fan in quotation points, but how rude and loud this fan got. It's kind of hard to judge if Bully Ray was in the right here, but yeah, he says that I live by the motto: respectful fans always get what they want, rude fans always get what they deserve, which I agree with wholeheartedly. Like, you should be entitled to a degree, do what you want when you get into a wrestling show. But at some point, if you are there just to make the show about you, or your only purpose is to make fun of the wrestlers, then you need to leave. You need to leave, because that is you are allowed to get immersed in the wrestling experience. You're allowed to cheer and boo and say things, but it has to be a point where you just stop talking and just watch what's going on. And I see it all the time. And at the end of the day, like Bully Ray saying that he's just trying to defend 3 women that needed a bit of defending, not by being a bully, by being a man. I can see Bully being like trying to do the right thing here. I don't think like you can believe to some degree that the fan was a bit intimidated by him, especially by the shit he was saying about him. But he's trying to make it seem like Bully Ray intimidated him or tried to threaten him and everything else, which it sounds like the fan is full of shit, personally. But if that's not the case, very serious matter, Ring of Honor investigating it, but I feel like it's just clear from what's come out that Bully Ray should have kicked the guy out, but they handled it as best they could. We'll end, guys, on the best thing to come out of this week, Twitter stories, and a lot of Twitter stuff coming out. Very bizarre, very bizarre. So you have Big E is just talking to porn stars on Twitter, saying that WWE wouldn't fire him if they he couldn't get fired from WWE if he tried. Just casually. Big E's Twitter game has been the stuff of legends, ladies and gentlemen. Like, I'm gonna miss him talking about Mama Lynch. I'm gonna miss him talking about just so much stuff on social media when he finally comes back from injury. Like, bless him. Bless him. That we should remember this time fondly as wrestling fans, the time that Big E was just the king of Twitter. There's other people as well. Like, you have US political candidates are apparently fans of All Elite Wrestling. There's one candidate named Andrew Yang who said that if the Yang Gang were a wrestling promotion, we would be All Elite Wrestling. And he's saying that he's a loyal fan of All Elite Wrestling and that he believes that his other candidates are WWE, the underdog facing the juggernauts. That's like, even candidates know. Even candidates know that All Elite Wrestling is like this. The real battle here is WWE versus itself, not All Elite Wrestling versus WWE, because they are just making it so easy for All Elite Wrestling, right? You have Cody Rhodes, who has released some merchandise, some new T-shirt line called Thronebreaker, which is they're just teeing this shit up for them, right? WWE are just teeing up all this stuff with All Elite Wrestling, right? But I will end, guys, with probably the funniest Twitter story from this week. Goldberg has blocked Matt Riddle on Twitter. And we don't know when, but the King of Bros is not a fan of Bill Goldberg. And he's like, when he said if he posted a photo about Goldberg blocking him, so we don't know exactly when he blocked him. It might have been from ages ago. But he just simply posted, "I can't wait to watch your match this Friday so I can see how good you are at wrestling." Now, Goldberg has not always been the best wrestler. He's always had short matches and everything else, and he's kind of admitted to this as well. And if you watch Super Showdown, my heart goes out to you, because apparently it was the worst main event of all time for WWE. And just watching these two old men fight, and like I heard about the botches and everything else. It was a mess, quite frankly. And Matt Riddle hasn't been done this week. He actually said, so he released a video on Twitter, then he deleted it. But he said that you lived up to your hype. You're without a doubt the worst wrestler of all time. That is not an opinion, that is fact. The King of Bros, he is absolutely, like, I don't know if he's kind of overstepped the bounds here, but bro, you are earning yourself no favors doing this. Like, he can be a little bit bitter at some point to say, like, Brock Lesnar is facing this guy, like, he's faced this guy, and I need to fight and claw my way to face off against him, and now, yeah. Of course, and apparently he's been very critical of Goldberg from the past few years. But, like, bro, the ball's on you. Big congratulations to you just for the goal to just try and get a response out of Bill Goldberg the way you have. And yeah, for those of you who watch Super Showdown, yeah, you can judge for yourself. You can let us know if you agree with Matt Riddle's thinking and that he thinks Goldberg is one of the worst wrestlers ever. Let us know what you thought of Super Showdown. But that's it for all the rest, guys. You can follow me on all the socials at Mr Myster1ous107I, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Hit me up. Let me know what you thought about this week in wrestling. If you want to follow our producer Greg, he is at the Greg Unchained on Twitter, at the Greg Unchained on Instagram. If you want to follow us collectively here at the B Plus, because we're a good bunch, we are at the B Plus Wrestle on Twitter because wrestling will fit, and the B Plus Wrestling everywhere else. Remember guys, our Patreon is there. Any amount you could donate would be greatly appreciated. Keep giving what you want, when you want, showing you the best of Australian wrestling and keeping up to date with all the news overseas. Like, share, subscribe, hit that 5-star review. I've been Mr Mysterious, and I'll see you later.